Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Special Committee of the Whole meeting for December 7th, 2020. I'm Councillor Wendy Alford and I'll be chairing tonight. All members of council, with the exception of Councillor McGuire, who is going to be a minute or so late, are here. And so I'd ask the CAO if you could call the roll for those town staff that are in attendance.
Certainly, Madam Chair. We have with us tonight Ms. Miller, Mr. Manhire, Ms. Costello, Mr. Grenke, Chief Cheeseborough, Mr. Dunlop, and we also have Mr. Barlow with us tonight to present a report.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and of course, Nadine Bennett, our Deputy Clerk.
Well, before we go too far, could I ask Deputy Clerk Mrs. Bennett to introduce, we have another student counselor joining us tonight.
Thank you. Yes, tonight we have both our student counselors. Tonight we have student counselor Carter Hughes joining us, and he's got his camera on there. Hi, Carter.
Carter.
So just a bit of background about Carter. Carter is a grade 10 student at SFDCI. And in his resume, he said that one of his core principles has always been to service others. And this position would help him be able to contribute to the future of the community while also being the voice of the youth. So tonight I'd like to welcome Student Counselor Hughes, as well as Student Counselor Lagarde, who was here last week. Thank you.
Great, welcome. We're happy to see you and happy to hear of your interest in what we do and what you may do someday, Carter.
Yeah, welcome, Carter.
Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, any disclosures of monetary interest? Seeing none, there are no delegations tonight. I would entertain a motion for the adoption of minutes for October 5th, 26th, and November 23rd. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor? That's carried. CAO Morris, I believe we have one director's report tonight.
That's correct. We have one brief one by Mr. Manhire.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick notes, and they're both about the Christmas lights in town. We have received a lot of wonderful comments about how they look, and so much so that somebody decided that 9 of the trees should not have lights on them anymore and took them home. So I would just encourage the public to keep an eye open, and if they see people deciding to take things home, to let us know, and we can follow that up. And just a side note that Santa Claus will be coming to town. We've been in touch, and he will be escorted by the fire department down to Centennial Park on Saturday, both Saturdays, this Saturday and the following Saturday, so the 12th and the 19th, from 5 until 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Manhire, and I know Santa is always welcome in Smith Falls. There are no correspondence items tonight, and so we have a long list of things to get done tonight. So we'll move on to priority issues 7A, and that is with Senior Planner Carl Grunke. And is Carl?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I believe this is the Lanark Street Development Agreement report. This I'll just quickly to speak to that. So last year, the Planning Advisory Committee approved a consent and minor variance application to divide a property out on Lanark Street. So this was a lot that was larger than what the zoning bylaw required. Development was on one side of the lot, and they saw an opportunity to create, basically sever off the yard and create a new infill lot. So that was approved by the committee, and subject to normal conditions such as obtaining a survey, being up to date on all municipal taxes and fees, and also given that the lot that is not serviced by municipal stormwater, we've received a request from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to have that assessed at a more detailed basis prior to build. So through scoped stormwater work that would be done in consultation with the Public Works Department, and also ensuring that we don't, as a matter of policy, the creation of unserviced lots is not supported as well. So typically we would be requiring the construction of the servicing to the lot line. However, the proponents had requested that we simply secure that instead, which was an approach that was acceptable to the Public Works Department. So all told, we're proposing to administer 3 of the conditions of the consent approval through a development agreement. The agreement has been drafted, reviewed with the proponent as well as our Public Works Department, found to be acceptable, and staff are recommending that council approves and directs us to finalize an authorization bylaw.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions for? Yes, Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one, Carl, I've seen this done before and it works well to meet your conditions of 1 year. Why 5 years for the agreement though? That seems like an extraordinarily long time.
So that.
Yes, go ahead.
Through the chair, I think that was, at this point, the proponents did not have a window in which they wish to develop. Certainly from our end, we can't leave this open-ended. So 5 years was just an agreed upon time between staff and the proponents, following which we would reassess at the end of that time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, sorry, Madam Chair, is there any sense from Public Works that this should be done? I've seen this where things get registered for an extended period of time and then they get forgotten and ownership changes and it just gets messy. In a big way that we could shrink that time.
Excuse me, Councillor Dwyer. Is anyone else noticing that Councillor Dwyer is having some difficulty? Yeah. You're breaking up, Nikki. We're losing you.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Sorry. Let me. I'm going to switch internet.
Okay. Carl, maybe you could go ahead though. You got the gist of what Councillor Dwyer is raising.
So I think what I heard is a concern that through future, the longer that this agreement, the longer the life of this agreement, the more risk we have of it getting lost through land sales, and suggesting shortening the 5 years to something closer to a shorter period, just to ensure that the lot gets developed within a reasonable period of time. Did I understand? Unfortunately, I didn't hear all of it. Is that the gist of it?
Any other concerns from other council members on that same issue? Okay, Carl, how would you propose that, or what's your feeling on how, understanding what Councillor Dwyer has said, if council should, what are you recommending 5 years?
I'm recommending 5 years. I don't think that reducing it by a couple of years is going to be. I don't think that's unreasonable. I'd ask Director Dunlop if he has anything to add with respect to the fulfillment of that condition. If we were to look at a different time period, I might recommend 3 years. That's a time period we often use as far as subdivisions go and ensuring the draft approval, the conditions get completed. Certainly, I'd take council's direction on that matter and report back to the proponent. Ultimately, the municipality needs to be satisfied that the agreement is in our best interests as well.
Councillor or Director Dunlop, do you have some comment?
Through the chair, Public Works just wants to make sure that the terms of the agreement vest with any successive owners, and from what I understand, it would. So we didn't necessarily prescribe the term, but from what we've seen from the draft agreement, our interests are protected, and so we're fine with that.
Okay, Councillor McKenna, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm fine with the 5 years. It looks like the people that are applying for this, that works for their schedule. Not everybody's a developer. This sounds like just a local family wanting to sever some land, and they haven't got a clear plan right now. So I'm sure we won't lose track of the records over 5 years, and it's built in. It should pop up. So I'm fine with, if that's what the family want, I'm fine supporting that.
Okay, any other thoughts from the rest of council? Mayor Keiko?
Yeah, I'm fine with a longer term if necessary. If that's what the proponent is looking for, I hope it doesn't take 5 years to get it looked after. But if that's what it takes, I'll accept that.
Okay, Councillor Allen is nodding heads. Councillor Brennan's and okay. So it looks like we do have consensus to move forward, and now Senior Planner Granke has his direction on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next one, don't go too far away, Mr. Granke, because Hammers and Nails development is priority B, and it is yours as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very pleased to present for Council's consideration a site plan agreement. As Council will recall, earlier this summer, you approved zoning and official plan amendments for 3 combined lots at Beckwith Street North to accommodate an infill development consisting of a 16-unit apartment building. So that zoning and the OPA are now in full force and effect, and the proponent has spent the last couple of months working through the site plan process. So the overall development concept, I think, is very similar to what you all saw earlier. There's a number of details have been added onto the property just to as required through a site plan process. So I'll just very quickly summarize what's being proposed. So a total of 16 dwelling units, including 4 bachelor, 1 one-bedroom, 8 two-bedroom, and 3 bedrooms. So one of the bachelors and one of the two bedrooms are proposed to be designated as affordable according to the bonusing agreement that we approved earlier. So a total of 20 parking spaces in accordance with the zoning requirements. The 4 pedestrian pathways are proposed to be provided from the street to the building entrance. So along the main entrance along the street, the side entrance, as well as 2 private dwelling entrances at the street level. So the ground level apartments will have their own accesses to the street to create a sort of streetscape feel there. So the 3-story building will feature a mansard roof for the 3rd floor with black steel roofing and a red brick veneer for the ground floor, 2nd story facades, and then white horizontal siding proposed along parts of the side and the rear. And then there will be balconies on the upper levels. So 3 shade trees are proposed to be retained along the rear property line with root protection measures identified. And unfortunately, that large sugar maple in the front of the property, or in the middle of the property, there wasn't really any way to save that. So that's have been removed through the development, as well as a smaller red pine. But 3 larger deciduous trees to the rear have been being saved. And then 4 shade trees are proposed on site, as well as 2 smaller serviceberry trees along the front facade and some landscaping around the publicly accessible bench. And the bench is proposed to be used, partially constructed with wood milled from the tree. So common amenity space with a children's play area is proposed in accordance with the zoning, and garbage is to be stored inside in a garbage room inside, publicly accessible bench located at the northwest corner of the site, and a 1.8 meter 6-foot wooden fence around all property lines. So I think from the perspective of staff, we're certainly, this was a project that we worked very well with the proponent, and I'd like to certainly acknowledge the work that they've put into creating creating a nice design and a nice infill development for a fairly high traffic, high profile part of town. So at this point, staff are recommending that we approve the site plan application and give direction to enter into the site plan agreement.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Grinke? Councilor Brennan.
Yeah, no questions. I support it, and just a compliment to you, Carl, and the planning committee, which Councillor Alford sits on with me with. You know, we had some concerns, and I know that that's going to be a great improvement to the area and offer some much needed housing and some affordable housing too to town. So I think it was good work.
And I concur. Anything else? Then Mr. Grinke, you're going to send that to council tonight. So we'll look forward to putting our stamp on that one. Thank you. Our next 7C is CIP application for 33 to 35 Market Street, and that we're not letting you go anytime soon, Carl. So this one is yours as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my third and final report this evening is bringing forward a recommendation by the Community Improvement Plan Evaluation Committee for property at the 3335 Market Street. So that's corner intersection, just at the sort of on the fringe area of our downtown. So as council is aware, there's a small vacant commercial space at the corner, and then several residential units that have been, the interiors of those units have been renovated over the last little while and enhanced. So the CIP committee has considered a funding application to make a number of modifications to the property. So that would be a funding application under Program 1, the facade improvement grant. So that includes the replacement of the windows, including an enlarged window along the street frontage, the existing replacement of the windows at the intersect or at the commercial unit closest to the intersection, and as well as a replacement of the siding along the on all facades of the property. So the original proposal called for vinyl siding to be the replacement material. The CIP committee had a lot of discussion about that and felt that in this case it would be warranted rather than just a like-for-like replacement. We take that opportunity to really enhance and get something, I guess, better or a more robust material for the siding. So in that case, the committee supported the recommendation, or supported the application for full funding under Program 1 and 3, but asked the proponent to investigate upgrading to either a hardy board or a Connexel siding. And the proponent produced a quote that did have for the hardy board signing. And based on the committee, this hasn't come back to the committee. This was just done at the last an earlier meeting. However, our interpretation of the committee's intent was that if the siding was feasible, then this would be supported by the committee. So the staff recommendation is that the approval be granted to the CIP application with the hardy board signage and with the hardy board siding included. So I'll pause there for any questions or discussions on the CIP committee's recommendation.
Thank you, Carl. Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Carl. We've got another interesting one on the books tonight. It's, I think for me, the question comes down to, do we really want to be encouraging people covering up buildings in the downtown CIP area? Because this is a building that currently covered in vinyl siding, but there's a couple panels of siding that have come off, and you can see behind it the board and batten underneath, and the batten's actually been milled into a triangular shape, which is different. But the question I have is really, would it be better to take off the vinyl and try to paint what's underneath and bring the building back to its original form, or is it better to cover it up? What's the threshold for where we want to put taxpayer dollars into redeveloping buildings downtown? What degree of quality are we going to expect if we're going to give $10,000? There's a lot of heritage attributes in the downtown core that are covered up with vinyl siding or different types of siding, aluminum and hardy board kind of stuff. So is this the kind of thing that the council's looking to support in the downtown core, or is it not? And I'm really I'm interested to see what the consensus is going to be tonight, because I think this will be a precedent-setting one at the committee level, and we're definitely looking to council for some direction on this. So that's my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you. And I've switched internet, so hopefully you can hear me better. Is that better? Okay, thank you. So I empathize with Councillor McGuire, and I think he raises a good point. And I think the intent of that project was to try and emphasize restoration of buildings in our downtown. And I think that the RED grant that we've applied for, and we're going to see kind of come full circle with in the next year, is really going to help us to provide some further definition to property owners about what they should be doing. In this case, given the location of this building, I'm less concerned about the restoration. And I think that's what makes the CIP evaluation hard, right? A lot of it comes down on a case-by-case basis to the nature and integrity of the property that you're working with. And not to slight this property, because it's a good one, and it's across the street from what is now probably the best looking landmark in Smiths Falls. So I think with that, it's got some context around it that we want to be cautious of. But I don't have a preference for the material type that they're using on this building. I think hardy board is going to be more durable, considering how close that building is to the sidewalk and the street. So power to them. If the committee has been able to negotiate up to a better quality product, then great. I agree with Carl. I think the mullions in the windows are really going to make a difference. That's a huge difference, and it's contextually appropriate for the era of that building. So I don't have a problem with supporting this application, but I think to address Councillor McGuire's point, my hope is that the work that we're doing through the RED grant for the facade restorations is really going to help us on a go-forward basis.
Thank you. Any other thoughts from council? Councillor Allen.
Yeah, no, I agree with Councillor Dwyer in that I don't disagree with what Councillor McGuire is putting forward. I mean, it would be wonderful if we could have owners of the buildings in the downtown willing to put the much greater cost into restoring buildings as they once were. But having just done that in my own home, it's very expensive. And I know they didn't price it to compare with the hardy board, but my guess would be to restore it with the wood, as Councillor McGuire talked about underneath, would be much more expensive. And when I look at this building, it's the picture that was provided, and I've been looking at this building because I grew up on that street, just down the few blocks. And, it's been a number of different commercial things, but for a long while, it's just been quite vacant and just not looking great. So in my view, what the committee came up with, I could accept. I think the hardy board is a better option than vinyl. I'm not a big fan of vinyl. And from what I can understand, it's hard in these two pictures to really visualize the difference. But from talking to people and just Googling it, it seems to me the hardy board is going to sustain itself and last longer. The other thing that I would add in terms of not just the RED grant, but I know the Municipal Heritage Committee, we've been talking a lot about how we can motivate owners of buildings and people renting to restore the facades. And one of the things that we're hoping to be able to do is perhaps have a guidebook or a guide folder that would give people ideas on how to create facades on the fronts of the property. because I think right now the communities that have done that are more successful in getting people to move in that direction. But I'm certainly in favor of what the committee is saying, certainly not the vinyl.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did. Just, yeah, I support the CIP committee's recommendation, and I appreciate Councilor McGuire's comments as well. But and I appreciate the fact that you shared the minutes from the meeting, of the CIP meeting, and the evaluation that was done on this particular property. It was exhaustive, and I think due diligence was done. So it's great to see that someone's going to invest in a property that's been derelict for some time. And I thank the owner.
Thank you. And Mayor Panko?
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Brennan, and I think it's sat a bit of an eyesore for a long time. And while it may not be the most architecturally appealing building, I think the owner has made big strides in one, creating three residential units in a town that needs new residential units. The commercial unit also being revitalized, and the Hardy Board, I agree, makes it a nicer feature. And I certainly respect Councillor McGuire's comments, and in many places, I think that if there was brick or stone underneath, it would be extremely appropriate. And in this situation, even when you consider the ability to fix, I guess, the opportunity to insulate and create more energy efficiencies in a building, if we reverted back to the board and batten, would be more of a challenge. So I think when you put it all together, I look at the CIP committee's recommendation and the bonus points coming from really taking something that had potential but no purpose, and to now having a lot of purpose. So I support the recommendation.
Thank you. And Councillor McKenna?
Just had a question. Maybe I missed it in the report, but is all four sides of the building going to be completed with Hardy Board, not just the facade?
I don't know the answer to that. Probably Councillor McGuire would be or Senior Planner Granke, you could probably answer that.
I'm just I'm just going through my notes on that. So if Councillor McGuire can has an answer quicker than mine, I'll welcome that.
Councillor,
I'm assuming it is, and we keep referring to the facade. So because in other facades you're just doing the front. So I just was curious.
No, good point, Carl. We'll look for that. Councillor McGuire, did you want to have some other comments once you've heard your colleagues speak?
Sure. I'm not sure on whether it's all sides. That was my impression from the meeting, but Carl maybe can give us an update on that side of it. I think for me personally, like I'm hearing everybody, I appreciate everybody's comments. I've got a really high bar for if taxpayer money is going to subsidize development, I want to see it done right. And the last time we funded something like this, it didn't go that well. So I'm not going to support this application because I don't know. We didn't investigate what the cost of getting the board and back would be. We didn't. I don't think there's a huge connection between what the Hardy Board looks like and what the original surface treatments on the structure would have been. And I don't. I just personally, I don't see how it's going to come together. The mullions are going to be nice, but it's going to be different size mullions in each different size windows. So there'll be a little bit of variation there. And ultimately, I think, I believe this will take us down to about $15,000 in the CIP account. And so it's a pretty big investment, and I just don't see the returns. So that's that. Carl, did you figure out the siding side of it? Because I can't see it here.
Yes, Carl.
I did not see it conclusively referenced one way or the other. I think it would be certainly reasonable that consistent siding be applied across the board. So certainly, I would, if council has a recommendation to condition that that the Hardy Board siding be on all four sides, I would entertain that.
Councilor McKenna?
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that the owner would do that, but it would, I've seen it before where, you know, you will see it coming up Russell, heading towards the downtown, that back of the building. So, and coming up Market, if those two sides are not part of this, I would have a problem supporting it. But as long as it's the entire building, I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. And Councillor Dwyer?
Sorry, we have a grandma emergency. She's burnt the nachos, and I think I have to go attend to that. So I'm gonna go, and then I'll be right back.
Okay, I think we have your vote on this anyway.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll be.
Okay, I would just comment on this issue as well as I am of two minds in this one because I agree with Councillor McGuire. If we are investing so that people will be true to the heritage of our town, and yet we don't do enough to insist that that's the case, but we fund these rehabilitations. I agree with them on that. On the other side of it, there's 3 new units available during our housing crisis. It certainly is going to improve the look of that in our downtown core. But I really do think that we have, and whether it's the RED grant or something else the committee needs to do, we have, it appears to me, and I'm not on that committee, it appears to me that there is a struggle every time one of these comes up to decide what the CIP program is for and what the rules are. I feel like there's always too much gray area when we start talking about this. So I think my take is that we have consensus to go ahead with staff's recommendation. Sorry, Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, I understand that argument, but you know, when I look at the report, there's a $32,000 investment, which is $7,000 more than the vinyl, which was brought out through the committee. So there is a private sector. The owner's investment is not nothing, and so and the other point is the building has not looked good for many years. So I think it's going to look good after this. So that's sort of the rub there.
Yeah, I think that is the rub for many of us. So it would appear anyway that we have consensus to move this forward. I think what I heard was, though, we want to make sure that, just to confirm that all 4 sides are going to be done in Hardy Board. Yes, okay. So we will give that direction to you, Mr. Grenke, and we will move on. Okay, so 7D is with our manager of wastewater, Mr. Barlow, on the renewal of Part 4 Environmental Authority Agreement regarding the Clean Water Act. So, Mr. Barlow, there you are.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairperson Alford, members of council. Report 2020-144 is to extend the existing contract agreement with the Mississippi Rideau Valley Conservation Authority for Part 4 Enforcement Authority services under the Clean Water Act of 2006. The Source Water Protection Plan has been approved and in place since January 1st, 2015. And within these policies, it's required that the town provide services for a risk management official and a risk management inspector to require that the approval of planning and building out applications located within the vulnerable source water area are looked after. Under the framework, the town must provide the services of appropriately trained officials. And when considering alternatives, we do have the option to do the services internally if we have the expertise. The Conservation Authority currently have qualified staff and trained staff with extensive experience within the resource protection, along with thorough knowledge of the Clean Water Act and the Mississippi Rideau Source Water Protection Plan. The liability and risks associated with the delivery of the program is otherwise assumed by the Conservation Authority when these services are delivered through their office, and the Conservation Authority also maintains liability insurance coverage for these professional services as well. It's been long considered beneficial to have the Mississippi Rideau Conservation Authority deliver these services as they deal with these matters across the watershed on a daily basis. And to that end, the external approach for these services ensure that the land use impacts are consistently applied and enforced across the entire watershed. So due to the limited development activity within the source water protection zones, the municipality has not yet been required to pay for any of these services, as it has not been required. And with the original agreement that was signed November 20th, 2017, which has just expired. So the recommendation is that council, the corporation, the town of Smith Falls, appoint the Mississippi Rideau Valley Conservation Authority as the risk management official and risk management inspector for an additional 3-year term as per the Part 4 Enforcement Authority under the Clean Water Act 2006, and that the council, the corporation, the town of Smith Falls pass the necessary bylaw authorizing the execution of the necessary agreement associated with transfer of Part 4 Enforcement Authority under the Clean Water Act for the Mississippi Rideau Source Protection Plan.
Thank you. That is a bit of a tongue twister. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. We refer, as far as I know, Rideau Valley Conservation Authority is separate from Mississippi Conservation Authority. This is an arrangement. They've formed a business model where they work collaboratively to offer these services. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, with the source water protection plan that was put together, it was decided that it was best to keep these areas together.
How, if I may, Madam Chair, so we're still, I'm just not sure what the legal entity is because we refer to them as authorities and then we refer to them as authority, but they're two separate entities. The report it went back and forth, so I was just a little confused.
Yeah, through the chair. Sorry, I believe based on the source water protection plan that was put together is where they come together as an entity, okay, but they are different conservation authorities.
So our agreement will be with the entity that has come together, not with the individual authorities. I'm just.
I think the authority, yeah, the authorities would take responsibility in their area.
Thank you. I'm supportive of this recommendation.
Mayor Panko?
Yeah, Jason, is it safe to assume that the proposed changes to the Conservation Authorities Act that could be enacted early this week are not affected by this agreement?
I would pass that on to CAO Morris if he may have a better answer on that.
CAO Morris?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we're not sure is the answer. So the Rideau Valley Mississippi Authority are proceeding as based on status quo. So if those changes should occur, it will likely take some time for them to be put into effect. So I think we'll have time to respond if this type of service is affected by the change or by the proposed change. So if the status of this authority were to change, we'd come back with an alternate solution.
Director Dunlop also has his hand up, I believe.
Oh, there you are, Director Dunlop.
Yeah, the services that are subject to this agreement are essentially, we are not obliged to seek these services from the conservation authorities. However, with the tremendous amount of expertise they have, in particular, the individuals that did all the work to assemble the source water protection plans, it allows us to leverage that through a contract. So I don't believe they're mandated to provide the service, but they can do so under contract for set fees for recovery. So I think under any model, it would be a contract. And as outlined in Manager Barlow's report, there has not yet been a need to call on these services to date, which is good. We're in an area that actually has very few source water threats. That's a very a good benefit for our municipality. Few risks.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Dwyer?
Thanks. Yeah, I have no problem supporting this report. I mean, this arrangement is the same arrangement that most of the municipalities within the two watersheds have adopted. Historically, my understanding was the only reason that we did not opt for it was because our previous superintendent of water wastewater and our compliance coordinator felt that they had the skill set and had gone through the training mechanisms to be able to self-qualify as an RMI. But that's kind of the unusual pattern in the area. Most other municipalities are using the consolidated office through Mississippi Rideau. And as someone who has experienced the services through that office, I mean, they really are top notch. They're the experts in the field and they know what they're doing. And on the off chance that you do have something that's a threat to your drinking water, you want to make sure that you're working with the most qualified people to manage the situation. So I have no problem supporting.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would just have one comment or question. There, you say in the report, Manager Barlow, that we haven't used them since we haven't needed to deploy that since 2017 because of the rather limited development we've had. Do we anticipate with the development we are that is here with us now and being planned that there might be a need for this service from the Conservation Authority?
To the chair, there's nothing that's come across my desk that I've seen that would implement these services. I'm not sure if it's maybe anything in the future within our intake protection zone areas that would qualify for that. I know like one of the issues, like when we wanted to move the campground, I think that was falling into that area of consideration.
Okay. Director Dunlop, you had some more information?
I just wanted to add that it's not only really the development, it's the type of development that's a consideration. So development in a source water protected area, whether it be rated 8 or 10, certain uses are allowed and certain uses are prohibited. So essentially most of the development around the swale and our source water protection areas have been residential in nature and hence haven't required risk management plans or programs. So again, also because much of our source water area is also provincially significant wetland, it comes under their review, under their mandate as well. So again, we're not seeing the types of hard development happening in our source water area that's triggering these, we'll call them risk management plans.
Okay, thank you. So it appears that this will move forward to council tonight. Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Okay, so moving on to 7E is with our Director of Community Services, Mr. Manhire, for the award of plant materials tender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here tonight to ask council about awarding the contract for maintenance and supply of plant materials for the downtown core. We put out a tender that closed. We received the one bid, and it was from Gemmell's Garden Center in the amount of $37,942.64 plus the applicable HST. And it covers all of the plant materials and the planters and hanging baskets and beds in the downtown area. Just as an aside to this, we have over the last 3 years been supplementing a number of the beds with perennial materials so that we don't have to replace them every year, and then augmenting with more colorful annuals. So this year marks the completion of that. We also will be looking at going forward, awarding this on a multi-year basis. Makes it a lot easier for the supplier as well as for us. And once we have Beckwith Street done and we've done the transition, it will allow for that to happen. So we've had to make a few adjustments to the regular supply over the last 3 years, I guess. So so this kind of comes to an end within the next year.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Manhire? No, seeing none, this is not particularly to do with this particular issue, but I did note that one of the persons consulting on this was Chris Burns. And Chris is retiring this Friday after 37 years with the town. He has been an absolutely dedicated employee, and many of us have had the opportunity to work with Chris over his nearly 4 decades here with the town, and he is going to be very much missed. But congratulations, Chris, on your retirement. And I know that all my colleagues and the rest of the staff join me in saying thank you for all the contributions you've made over the years. I'm pretty sure Chris isn't watching this, but his wife will tell him. Anyway, thank you very much, Director Manhar. Do we have any other questions, or we're good to go on this tender? Great. So then we will move along to stay right there, Director Manhar, for the award of the Parks and Rec Master Plan RFP.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we put out an RFP for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We received a considerable amount of interest in this, and we received 4 bids. The outlines of those bids are listed in the report, but essentially what we're looking at here is we're looking at the experience and decision-making for all of our planning around land use and park use. So ensuring consistency in the development of it, giving guidance on adequate levels of service as well, where we did the service review recently for the Parks and Recreation Department, you know, and we have an inventory of assets along the way, and whether those assets are, you know, the right mix and providing the right level of service. This document will help us in gauging that, as well as in moving forward when we have development opportunities in the community and how we actually can provide effective quality of life services for the people coming into the community. And then taking a look at allocation of funds and resources as well. It's crucial for us to be able to do that. So as we go and develop, if we add parks and things, what's the implication for the community as a whole? So the 4 bids that we received were reviewed. The review committee was myself, Tana Torch, and Carl Grenke, and they were all within certain guidelines. We looked at a number of different aspects, kind of the proposed work plan, the detailed timeline, vendors' history, capacity within the group, pricing, as well as kind of overall quality and depth. And we were very pleased to see the amount of work done by some of the bidders in terms of researching the community and identifying where we were as a community and reaching out to help us improve that. So we have the scoring there. We are proposing that RC Solutions, or RC Strategies rather, be awarded in the amount of $38,548 plus non-refundable HST, which goes for a total of $39,226.45. That is within the budget that we had allocated for 2020. And it was in the 2020 capital budget under planning. So that leaves us with a savings of $773.55.
We like savings. Before I ask the rest of council if they want to have consensus on this, can I ask Carter? Can you turn your video on? I was wondering if our 2 student counselors would like to make a comment with regard to what they feel that their generation would like to see in a Parks and Rec master plan. Do you have any thoughts on we're just letting that go out for a consultant to do, but it would be interesting when we have 2 student counselors to get their opinion on something they think might be important in a Parks and Rec master plan.
I know for a lot of kids my age and especially younger that we'd like to see good sports fields, like have them maintained a bit better and have just better equipment for them. That's what I'd like to see.
Thanks, Carter. And Sarah, did you have any thoughts?
I think that Carter's suggestion is very important. That is definitely something that our generations do like to see. I think that like benches or sitting areas are also important in a park. Those are my only thoughts. Thank you.
That's good, and I can see Director Manhart nodding. So hopefully we will see more of that. Councillor Brennan, you had your hand up.
Yeah, and it's good to see our students tonight and participating. Thank you very much for that. My question, and it's actually, Madam Chair asked a question about, what the students thought. Is there, in the preparation of the master plan, and I've been looking, I can't see it in the report, but in the preparation, is there a public input component to that?
Yes, Madam Chair, I was going to say that there is a public consultation component to the whole project. So once they start, they'll go through their process, but that will be a part of it. It'll be council will be involved as well as the community.
Awesome, thank you.
Mayor Panko?
Yes, Director Manhire, I guess we've committed to a meaningful improvement in every one of the neighborhood parks throughout town. So I assume this document will provide guidance on and suggestions as to what that could look like. Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, this as well as our service reviews as an example are good indicators for us. They're the things that that tell us where we should be investing either our time or our resources to make it better. So we're really looking forward to having this as a guiding document, not only in terms of the Parks and Recreation Department, but also in terms of planning when we talk to developers about the amenities and what we'd like to see as part of the community. So this will inform all of those pieces and any additional resources that the public might be looking at having that we may not have. Are there ways that we can repurpose some of the existing materials? All of that will be part of that discussion. So we're very much looking forward to having that as a guidance, and we can incorporate that as well as our asset management plan information into the plan. Thank you.
Any other questions for Councillor Dwyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question and a suggestion, and I'll start with the suggestion. Perhaps, given that we have two keen and very able student counselors, we could have involved them in the kickoff meeting as well, because I think that'll really set a clear tone for the consultants to put an emphasis on youth. Usually by the time we get to stakeholder consultation, the bulk of the plan and kind of the methodology has already been set. So involving them specifically earlier as elected officials might be a wise idea. The question I have pertains to the locale of these consultants. Art, I noticed that this office comes from Alberta. Do they have a more local office? I'm just a little concerned that they're so removed from the context of our community that we're going to be missing out on some valuable kind of local insight in doing the plan. And I'm not saying that it's going to be a firm that's, in Smith Falls or in Eastern Ontario, but somebody who's at least familiar with the Ontario context.
Yeah, it's a great question, Madam Chair. These consultants tend to have people that work for them right across the country. And part of their experience profile has Eastern Ontario and Ontario communities that they've done work with. So I think they're well aware of that. We actually liked their approach in terms of taking a look at the community individually. So we were very impressed by their ability to do that. where they could recognize us. And it wasn't boilerplate stuff. There were some bids that were very boilerplate, and it has you questioning whether they can really identify your community's individuality. And we were very pleased that with the format that was something that this company had the ability to do.
Any, Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the recommendation and the award of the tender, and I look forward to the participation. I would encourage the public as they're thinking about how to get engaged, or not how to, but a lot of us think about new ways of adding recreational services. I would ask us and the public to think about, like, stop, start, continue. What should we stop doing that we're currently doing that just is out of date or doesn't work, and what we want to continue to doing, and what are we not doing that we'd like to start? So it's that usually what are we going to get out of is as important as what we want to continue with or what our future looks like. So just put our thinking caps on and look around, and I'm excited about it, and I'm pleased to get this tender going.
An excellent point, Madam Chair. We made it very clear to the proponents that what we were looking for was not, often people engage in these kinds of activities when they're looking to invest in capital assets, if they're looking to build a new facility and to justify that. And what we're looking for is right sizing. We're looking at making sure that we have the right amount of services and the ability to grow with our community. So that will be part of it, and we're very excited about the thinking that goes into this.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would just add the comment that I have been long and mentioning, and I know Councillor Dwyer has mentioned she is interested too. I'd like to see some areas for wild play. So I hope the consultants consider that too. But I think you have consensus to move forward with this tender, and it will come up to council tonight. Thank you, Director Maher. And so now we are at almost 6 o'clock. We have two in camera issues. Is that right now, Deputy Clerk Bennett?
That is correct. We have 2 in-camera items.
Okay, and we have so I will leave it to council, if my colleagues, if you want to try and defer the strategic plan monitoring plan, or if you would soldier on. What's the feeling? Councillor Dwyer?
I'd motion to defer.
Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I know that staff have been working long and hard, and I'd prefer to have that at the front end of a meeting when we can have our full attention and give it the audience it needs to have. So I'm fine with that.
Looking to my other colleagues, McKenna, McGuire, Allen, Mayor Panko.
Well, I was going to suggest before Jihad, just anticipating we've got, I think, a very, very heavy agenda for next week's committee of the whole meeting. I'm not sure what things look like on the 21st. So my reluctance, I guess, in deferred is that I guess I looked at CAO Morris. I tend to think if it's deferred, why defer it until January?
And CAO Morris, do you have comment?
Madam Chair, I would respond to that by saying we have a lot of business to finish before the end of the year. But if it's council's wish to defer, we will slot it in at the next available opportunity.
Councillor McAdam?
Yeah, it's not even 6 o'clock, so I'm ready to keep doing our job and get this agenda item and to discuss it. It's an exciting report. I'd like to have it on the table, and let's go.
Councillor Allen?
I agree with Councillor McKenna's comments.
Councillor McGuire, you okay to keep going? All right. So we will now, CAO Morris, you are then up for the strategic plan monitoring program report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll be brief. There's a lot of information in the report, so clearly we won't go through it all. But we're delighted to deliver this report. We committed when the plan was approved in July of or June of 2019 that we would provide an update every 6 months. This is the third of those updates. And despite the pandemic and the kind of the changes in focus that we were forced to adjust to this year, we are largely on track. So I'm delighted to say that. So in terms of actual accomplishments, just as a reminder, there are 6 strategic priorities, 41 initiatives to support those 6 priorities. And so if we go through them, go through the priorities individually, the housing was obviously a big one. We lost a little bit of time because of the inability to meet earlier in the year, but we made up time. And of course, in October, the interim report came forward. And the final report after a public consultation will come forward next week for your consideration. So very delighted that that one's moving on to becoming final before year end. The other one I would like to comment on is the development charges study, obviously a big potential shift in policy. That's underway. The consultant was engaged back in the summer and they're working away, and we expect them to report out in the first quarter of next year. Under priority 2, we have quality of life initiatives. The big one you just heard about, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So we'll see action on that one early in 2021. The cultural plan is on track. In fact, it started earlier this year, so we hope to have something there, certainly in the first half of 2021. Under the transportation priority, clearly the Beckwith phase 1 took up a lot of oxygen in the room, so to speak, and it finished on schedule. Other things that we're looking at, the Confederation Bridge, you'll recall back in July, Director Dunlop brought a report together. There are 4 alternatives that are being considered. Council felt it was important to have a public consultation piece. That's naturally going to occur through the mandatory municipal class environmental assessment that we need to do. So we have monies in the draft 2021 budget to advance the environmental assessment and move that project forward. So it's quite conceivable that you'll be in a position to make a decision on Confederation Bridge in 2021 once you have all the information. And of course, the downtown parking study was the other big one that we completed that in early September. The waterfront development and placemaking, a lot of the items within this area are further on in the plan. But the big one clearly is the redevelopment of the former water treatment plant. This project has suffered from a bit of inertia. The pandemic did not help in terms of engaging with the proponent and seeking partners. But what I can report to you is we've had a recent meeting, had another tour of the site, and it appears there may be a pivoting, perhaps a refocus on the original development proposal that you saw from Mr. Linton. So we hope that you'll see some action on this one in early 2021. So other than that, the priority 5, the tourism, they're all on track. I won't spend a whole bunch of time on that. Jennifer's doing a great job in that area. The priority 6 is the Town Hall campus and square. As you know, the Town Hall project came to a conclusion in September, phase 2 that is. So that's complete. The phase 1 is somewhat behind schedule. That's the town square design. Council may recall we went out, we got a design, we went out for pricing on a band shell, and it came in much higher than we expected. So we're regrouping. We have a plan. We have a budget request in the 2021 draft budget that will see this project move ahead early in 2021. We believe we'll be in a position to construct and install the bandstand in the spring. So that project will develop legs, so to speak, in 2021. The only other one I can comment on at this point is the library. That one we applied, Karen at the library applied for an OSIF funding program. Unfortunately, it was not successful. We applied for 2 others. They were both unsuccessful, so we just didn't get the OSIF money that we were hoping for that project. So that has delayed it somewhat. We are, there is a budget line item in the 2021 budget for that, so we'll welcome that discussion next week at the budget meeting to see what your thoughts are on moving that project forward. So those are kind of the highlights. There's lots of detail in the report, so perhaps I'll pause there and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan, I saw your hand first, and Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, thanks for that. I didn't mean to rush you, and I know how much work goes into this stuff, and I appreciate it. And anyway, the question that came up for me, we're waiting. There's stuff on the go, and it's in progress. But I was interested in the library, the 2 grants that were applied for. Can you share what amount that was? Was it substantial?
The actual amount, perhaps I'll refer that question to Mr. Manhire. It was significant. 900,000 seems to ring a bell, but perhaps I'll turn it over to her.
So the grant was just actually for just over $1 million, and that was something that was going to cover 80% of the overall project. Unfortunately, that didn't see success that we were looking for. Okay. So we still have it in hand. It's ready to go. Kind of looking for the right fit and the right support.
Okay, so through the chair, if I might, those 2 programs, whatever they OSEF or whatever it was, are they still active or are they ended and done with?
Well, there were 4 streams to the OSIF funding. This was the cultural stream, I believe. And as far as we're aware, that will not have another intake. But one would hope that it would be replaced with perhaps another funding program.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McKenna?
Thank you. Congratulations to CEO Morris and his staff for the progress in spite of COVID. It's a tremendous amount of work, as Councillor Brennan said, over 2 years. What strikes me about the report, now that we're 2 years in, is I'm looking, normally in a 3 or 4 year plan, you would start to see some things that, gee, that's just not going to happen, or there's very little things that I see on there that we may not achieve. There's a couple of those that are out of our control. So I'm really pleased, one, with the foresight that council and staff had in putting this one together, because it looks like it's doable, and their staff are demonstrating that they're getting the job done under very trying times. So I'm actually very delighted with the progress to date. And again, I'm looking to see what we could, looking ahead, looking back 2 years, gee, what were we thinking of? Why did we put that in there? But I don't see much of that. So just a comment, and I'm glad we took the time tonight to at least discuss it. Thank you.
And Councillor McGuire?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I agree with Councillor McKenna. It's really a testament to how hard all our staff and volunteers and everybody that's been involved in this has been working before COVID, through COVID, and now everything's going really well on track, it looks like. So thank you very much, CEO Morris. For quality of life stuff, I've got some concerns just with the 2.1 and the tangible improvement in each neighborhood park. We've budgeted 95,000 for that, it says, and the measurement is improvements agreed upon and then implemented. And the status is ordered benches for Lower Reach Park and fitness and bocce ball courts. So I don't remember when we agreed on that one, or I think we were looking for a real wow factor with those improvements. And I just don't understand the budget and how it would take that much to get some benches installed. And even the use of the fitness pad at Lower Reach has been disappointing. And I think that maybe in retrospect we could have done a better job on that one. But the other one is for the urban forest. we're spending $20,000 on trees each year. We got 24 60-millimeter trees planted, but many of the trees are being planted too deep. The root crown's underground. We're putting plastic rings around them that are trapping moisture and damaging the bark. So it's just, I hope that we can kind of improve those processes as we're going, because I'm worried we're going to lose that one. And the last one's the bylaw. I think I was really excited to see the bylaw tender out in the newspaper, because I didn't realize that we budgeted that much for it, and that's one I get a lot of calls about, and I'm not seeing any improvement on it. So hopefully we can get improved bylaw into 2021. So, but overall, like that's one section of many, and we're seeing really great progress. So thank you.
Councillor Dwyer, I had seen your hand up? Yep.
You did. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, I want to echo what my colleagues had previously said. I mean, it's a very, very ambitious plan, and to have accomplished so much within our first first half of the term, for a relatively new council, and a lot of changes on staff, I think that's a huge accomplishment, and so my hat goes off to CAO Morris for leading that. There are a couple things, there are a couple of initiatives identified within the report that I think it would be wise for us to go out to public consultation on, just to help us get a measurement on whether or not we are succeeding. The best example that I could find quickly was that bylaw example that Councillor Maguire raised. I think that's something that, as much as we look around the community and we gauge kind of the receptiveness of the community based on feedback we receive, it might be helpful to go out to the public to get their feedback on whether or not they think things are improving or not, or rather how they could be improved. The same can be said for a lot of other strategies that were more of an ongoing initiative rather than a one-off project. So it might be helpful to make use of our Speak Up Smiths Falls. It's a platform that we're trying to familiarize the public with and encourage them to regularly check in on. So having this sort of substantial project to get their interest in participating might be helpful on a lot of fronts.
Thank you. Councillor, did you want to comment, CAO Morris, before I move on?
Just to say, great suggestion. We'll follow up on it. I think that type of engagement's a great way to gauge our own success, for sure.
Councillor Allen. Councillor Allen, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to highlight too that I was glad to see the cultural plan. I know that we have people working on that, and I've been sitting on the Arts and Culture Council board as long as I've been a councillor, and it's just sort of grown since then over the last 8 years, and it's just such a very important part of our community and our society right now, and it's good that we're dealing with that, and I'm looking forward to having that come forward. I gather, I don't see a date, but I guess it's at the end of this year. CAO Morris, is that the feeling?
Through the chair, I'm glad you brought that up. So you'll notice in the dashboard format that we use, we broke down the first 2 years by quarter. So the next report you will see will break down the last 2 years by quarter. Okay. So the one, when we developed the plan, we simply identified 2021, but I think we'll be on track to have that presented in the first, if not the second quarter of 2021. It's well underway, and I would say probably 80% complete.
Thank you.
And Mayor Panko?
Thank you. I guess I was certainly excited about the progress we made on this, and I think we set out on an ambitious plan. Staff didn't give us any indication that it wasn't realistic, so we of course are forging ahead. And I want to, I guess remind not just council, I think council is very aware, but the public. Like during a pandemic, I think we've had 30 some emergency control group meetings. Malcolm can probably give me the exact number. And I'm sure for every hour and a half or so that we spend on average in those meetings, staff are spending considerable extra time trying to manage the organization through very challenging times, yet very much on track. So just to CA Morris, I guess we appreciate everything that's been done so far. Do you see any rejigging that we should be considering at this stage for the final half of this term?
Well, thanks for the question. I think you know, we have a strong, dedicated group of staff that have made this happen. I'm mostly the author of this report, so but you know, the group, our management team, and indeed many staff in the organization are responsible for making this happen. So my sense is that we're equipped to see this to completion. There are a few that you know, the former water treatment plant that you know, the slippage there in time is a bit concerning, but we're working on that. So it's those that are outside of staff's direct control that I'm most concerned about. The ones within our control, I think we have the right people doing the right jobs to get them done.
Well, thank you. And again, very challenging times to keep this agenda moving forward.
Thank you.
If no one has anything, I'll take the opportunity to echo what everyone else has said. When this is a perfect example of plan the work and then work the plan. It was ambitious to begin with, but when we all sat down to do this, we were all feeling pretty ambitious. And as Mayor Panko says, the staff didn't tell us we couldn't. And so we have placed a number of challenges in front of our staff, and they have, well, this would tell you that they have done an excellent job. I do have one question with regard to the bylaws, because when we talk about the bylaws, that was under the housing initiative. We didn't, and I know many of us have voiced since, and Councillor Dwyer may have been indicating the same, that there are bylaws unrelated to housing that we're hopeful that we can add to the list of things that can get done, some of our foundational documents before the end of this. And we've taken big chunks of that on too. Our staff have taken big chunks of that on as well. So I'm, you know, kudos to CL Morris, kudos to the staff that support, and certainly the senior staff. And I'm privileged to serve on a council that has been as engaged and as involved as anything I have been a part of before. So well done.
Thank you.
Well, that didn't take, you're lucky that didn't take that really that long then, Milk. Is there anything, any other comments you would like to make with regard to the strategic plan and going forward from here for the next 2 years? Or do you think you've covered it?
From my perspective, I think we've covered it. The only one I would add is we have some projects coming up that place a greater reliance on partnerships. And the one I would draw your attention to is redevelopment of the non-residential waterfront lands along Center Street. That's going to take a tremendous collaboration with Parks Canada and the landowners. So we know that Parks Canada have signaled they're going to update their work plan or their operations plan for the canal. So we will need to kind of follow their lead in terms of identifying what they want for this section of the Rideau Canal through Smiths Falls. So I just caution that there are some things here that we will get started on. You know, repurposing the decommissioned lock is another really good example. Something we're going to pour resources into, but at the end of the day, we rely on our partners to help us make those things happen. So I think there's going to be a broader effort amongst many stakeholders, and that requires upfront planning, and we need to plan the appropriate amount of time to give our partners time to take it through their approvals processes as well. So so I think we're on track. We just need to perhaps continue to emphasize the upfront planning it takes to deliver on some of these projects that that are not completely within our control.
No, good point. Very good point. Anything else for CAO Morris from council? Seeing nothing, again, thank you, CAO Morris. We will now, now I know that both Carter and Sarah are, have other commitments here this evening. We're about to move in camera and we never know how long we're going to be in there. So we will move as quickly as we can. But if either of you have to bow out of the meeting, that's perfectly fine. We will come back as quickly as we can. And shortly after that, we will adjourn the committee of the whole and Mayor Panko will begin council. So for the public, please be patient. And for Sarah and Carter, we're going to have to leave you out of the room as you are aware of for these in-camera sessions. And so I will hear a motion to move in camera from Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor McKenna. Thanks everyone for your patience. We will be resuming the committee of the whole meeting that we left to go in camera, and the rise and report from our session in camera for 8A is council was provided with information with regard to potential or possible litigation. And for the second 8B, council provided direction to staff on regarding an acquisition or disposition of property. With that being said, we have now come to the end of the committee of the whole, and so we will be adjourning shortly. Then we will take a 5-minute break, and the mayor will resume with council after that time. And Mayor Penko, you had something?
Yes, when we went into camera for item 8A, I became aware of an identifiable individual who is part of that potential litigation and I removed myself from the discussion. I removed myself from the video feed. And as I have a pecuniary interest, financial interest with an individual identifiable in that litigation.
Thanks. That's exactly what happened. And so now I will hear a motion. Thank you, Sean, for reminding me. Hear a motion to adjourn by Councillor McKenna, seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor?
Good evening. Welcome back to this special meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, December 7th, long night. Wanted to bring to the community attention tonight, we had a press release from our medical officer of health, Dr. Paula Stewart, late this afternoon, related to the rise of COVID incidents within the Leonard, Leeds, and Grenville area. I believe the number confirmed today were 23, which is, if it's not the highest we've had, it's it's the highest we've had since spring. And I think it's the highest number of community-related infections are what we're experiencing today or experience right now. So obviously very concerning. We remain in the green at the moment. That may change. We see other areas around us who are experiencing even higher rates of infection, other parts of the province. So just a reminder, be vigilant, continue to wash your hands, continue to wear your mask indoors and where you cannot properly physical distance. And as we approach the holidays, how critically important it is to continue to follow public health guidelines. And these are extremely challenging times. We see other parts of the country which have fallen backwards into more restrictive regulations and guidelines. We've enjoyed being in the green. We hope we can remain there. If we can't, we need to make sure we continue to do our job and keep our community safe. And just a reminder, and that thought is, if just imagine if you were found out today you were positive, and you had to go back over the past couple of weeks with every individual you've potentially been in touch with or within physical distance or could have infected. And imagine the impact that could have on those people who now have to self-quarantine, now have to go for a test. So the risk of broad-based community infection is high. We need to continue to do our part and keep everyone in our community safe. The other reminder, I guess, at this time, we know we're approaching the holiday season. We know that there are many families in our community which have traditionally been challenged this time of the year. This year, probably more so than many people who are suffering some financial challenges. And to remember to support those organizations out there that support the people of our community. The Salvation Army, many of our faith-based organizations, the Angel Tree. If we all do our part, it'll be a much happier and I guess fulsome Christmas for the citizens of our community. So moving on, I'll ask for any declaration of monetary interest. I hear none. We know no delegations. We have adoption of minutes. Is with Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that the minutes of the November 2nd, 2020 and November 16th, 2020 council meeting be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that the minutes of the November 2nd, 2020 and November 16th, 2020 council meetings be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Any reports this evening? I'll go by show of hand rather than going around. Yes, Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Your Worship. Briefly, I attended along with the mayor, attended Lanark County Council last week. The community services report. We had a very interesting report from Chief Melama, the Chief of Paramedic Services for Smith Falls and Lanark County. Gave a very interesting talk with a lot of data, and there's significant usage from the Smith Falls area of paramedic services. I took the liberty of asking the chief if he would be interested in coming as a delegation to our county, or pardon me, to our meeting to provide us with that information. I think the public and my members, colleagues would be very interested in seeing the paramedic use data, considering it's a significant cost in our budget line, and it's such a vital service to our community. So he said he would be willing and would await that invitation from you to come at a future date. I'm seeing nodding, so I'll leave that
Yes.
with. The second, if you don't mind, Mayor Panko.
Sure.
After the mayor and I attended the county budget day a couple of weeks back to go over the county budget, you'll know that the county is probably the largest landlord in Lanark County, and owns hundreds of affordable housing products across the county. We have a 10-year plan. We're 100 units short of achieving the provincial target that the province has set for our county. And the county initially had a 10-year plan to meet that target. I asked for and received support from my colleagues to have another visit to that 10-year plan to see if, given the urgency of affordable housing, if we couldn't shorten that 10-year timeline. So a housing summit has been arranged that the county will host on January 13th, and I'll fill you in on more details. And the intent is to revisit that 10-year plan to see if there's some way that we can accelerate it to see if we can get more affordable housing or reach that target that the province has set for the county sooner rather than later. That's my report, Mayor Panko.
Great, thanks you, Councillor McKenna, and it was a great suggestion at county, which was well received by members of county council. Any other reports this evening? Okay, we'll move on to bylaws. Our first bylaw, 7.1, is with Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with the Lockmasters Tap House CO Rob Dobson, respecting the property known as 32 Beckwith Street, be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Whoops, sorry. I need to go back. My mistake. Sorry. I did not declare my pecuniary interest in this matter, as I have a pecuniary interest with the proponent in this. So my mistake. I will turn over the chair at this moment to Councillor Alford and remove myself from discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this bylaw is regarding an execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with Lockmasters Tap House, and Councillor Brennan.
May I read it again?
Could you please, just for the record?
Sure. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with Lockmasters Tap House CO Rob Dobson, respecting the property known as 32 Beckwith Street, be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Any discussion, Councillor Brennan?
This was brought forward at a recent committee of the whole, and this CIP application is going to provide for facade landscape and signage improvements to this well-known establishment, and I think everyone's been there. And so we thank him and his partner for undertaking this work. The value of the work is, I think, around $12,000. The grant is in the amount of $6,182. So they're making an investment, and we're happy to utilize the CIP fund to help them out.
Thank you, Councillor Brennan. Third reading, and I do that part, right, Nadine?
We vote.
Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Dwyer. All in favor? Thank you. Third reading then, moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with the Lockmasters Tap House, care of Rob Dobson, respecting the property known as 32 Beckwith Street, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10193-2020. Everybody says, okay, we're good. Moved by, all in favor.
All in favor, yeah.
All in favor. Sean threw me for a bit of a loop there.
If you could say carried too, Councillor Alford.
That motion is carried, and now the chair will be taken back over by Mayor Panko.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to bylaw 7.2 with Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings on the 2nd, 16th, and 23rd days of December 2020 be read a first time and taken and read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings on the 2nd, 16th, and 23rd days of December 2020 be read a first time and taken as read a, no, that should be November.
I was going to say, that can't be right? We're not pre-confirming our proceedings?
No. Be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer?
Well, so this is typically a pretty boring bylaw because we're just confirming everything that we have done previously. But Nadine, can you confirm that those dates are correct, the 2nd, 16th, and 23rd of November?
Yeah, they're the correct dates. It's just that it's not December, it's November. You're correct.
Okay, fair enough.
We had some special
Make a third reading, please. Okay. Third reading, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings on the 2nd, 16th, and 23rd days of November 2020 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10194-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings on the 2nd, 16th, and 23rd days of November 2020, but now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10194-2020. All in favor? That's carried. And Councillor Alford, you're up next, I believe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a development agreement with Bridget Quinn respecting 14 Lanark Street be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a development agreement with Bridget Quinn respecting 14 Lanark Street be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Discussion, Councillor Alford?
Yes, Your Worship, this is, was at the Planning Advisory Committee and then moved to Committee of the Whole. This is a severance at 14 Lanark, and Ms. Quinn is severing a vacant lot off from an existing lot that will be developed over time. There's no particular plan at this moment, but Council is going to allow for the severance to take place.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a third reading, please.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a development agreement with Bridget Quinn respecting 14 Lanark Street be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10195-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor McKenna, the bylaw to authorize execution of a development agreement with Bridget Quinn respecting 14 Lanark Street be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10195-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor McKenna, you have the next bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with Hammer and Nails Development Limited respecting the property described municipally as 157, 161, and 165 Beckwith Street North be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with Hammer and Nails Development Ltd. respecting the property described municipally as 157, 161, and 165 Beckwith Street North be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Discussion, Councillor McKenna, please.
Yes, Your Worship, there's 3 vacant lots on Beckwith Street North, and we're very fortunate that the Hammer and Nails Development Group come in, bought that land, and will be building a 16-unit apartment building in there. Plenty of parking, lovely trees, beautiful fencing all around. It'll be 3 stories high, And the good news is 2 of these units will be considered affordable as part of this agreement. So we're quite pleased with this.
Wonderful. Any further discussion? May the third reading, please.
Yes, that moved by myself, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with Hammer and Nails Development Limited, respecting the property described municipally as 157, 161, and 165 Beckwith Street North, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10196-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with Hammer and Nails Development Ltd, respecting the property described municipally as 157, 161, and 165 Beckwith Street North, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10196-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Allen, you're up next.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dwyer, bylaw to appoint the Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to carry out all work required to address the municipal responsibilities under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act, bylaw 10197-2020. That a bylaw to appoint the Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to carry out all work required to address the municipal responsibilities under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to appoint the Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to carry out all work required to address the municipal responsibilities under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Allen, discussion, please.
Yes, this is a 3-year term extension where, they've been, the Mississippi Rideau Source Protection Plan has been run very effectively, and we are going to have them for another 3 years looking after that for us.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Have a third reading, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to appoint the Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to carry out all work required to address the municipal responsibilities under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10197-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to appoint the Mississippi Valley and Rideau Valley Conservation Authority to carry out all work required to address the municipal responsibilities under Part 4 of the Clean Water Act be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10197-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Brennan, you're up next.
Ma'am, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with Catherine Ryan respecting the property municipally known as 33-35 Market Street be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with Catherine Ryan respecting the property municipally known as 33-35 Market Street be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? It's carried. Discussion, Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, we had a report earlier this evening about this this particular application to the CIP, and it's for people that don't know, it's on the corner of Market and Russell, and a building that's been vacant and derelict for some time. So the owner is going to make some improvements, and I want to thank the CIP committee because the improvements, actually, they changed some of the plans and they've upgraded their improvements. And the amount of their grant is $10,000. And I think the value of the work is something around $38,000. And with the upgraded improvements, that was about $7,000 more than they had planned. So the CIP committee worked very well, I think, with the owner. And we're going to see a regionalization of that building after many years. So it's just on the edge of downtown, and it's going to look a heck of a lot better, and it'll be occupied with residential spaces as well as commercial.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please? Oh, sorry, Councillor McGuire, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a recorded vote, please, for it.
Okay, recorded vote has been noted. Third reading, please.
Okay. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of the community improvement plan funding agreement with Catherine Ryan respecting the property municipally known as 33-35 Market Street be now read a third time and finally passed, signed and sealed and numbered 10198-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a community improvement plan funding agreement with Catherine Ryan respecting the property municipally known as 33-35 Market Street be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10198-2020, and a recorded vote has been requested.
Muted.
Sorry. With respect to bylaw 10198-2020, please state yay or nay. Councillor Alford? Oh.
Muted.
Yay.
Councillor Allen?
Yay.
Councillor Brennan?
Yay.
Councillor Dwyer?
Yay.
Councillor McGuire?
Nay.
Councillor McKenna?
Yay.
This motion is carried.
Thank you. Councillor McGuire, you're up next.
All right. Thank you, Your Worship. Let me pull it back up here. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that for the illicit cannabis operations, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls supports Norfolk County Council's resolution number 6 respecting illicit cannabis operations and possible solutions to the current crisis. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada, the Premier of Ontario, Health Canada, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Smith Falls Police Service.
Thank you. And discussion, please.
Yeah, so this is with respect to the motion that was passed at Norfolk County Council, and as we know, we've had a lot of illegal plants seized in neighboring municipalities. And based on the current data, a majority of the cannabis market is still illicit. So it's really undermining local businesses. We have retailers in town and a major producer, and we're trying to do our part to support them. So that's why we've endorsed this resolution.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's moved by Councillor McGuire, second by Councillor McKenna. Whereas Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls supports Norfolk County's Council's Resolution number 6, respecting illicit cannabis operations and possible solutions to the current crisis. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada, Premier of Ontario, Health Canada, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Smith Falls Police Services. All in favor? That's carried. And Councillor Alford, you're up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls supports the Municipal Complex Phase 3 as the priority project for funding under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream. And further, that Council authorize the CAO to submit a community resilience funding application to the Ministry of Infrastructure before the deadline of December 21st, 2020.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
Yes, Your Worship, this is funding from the province that is available to the municipality for use in upgrade, repair, or retrofit municipal buildings. That grant will allow a substantial contribution of $175,000 to the Phase 3 of the town complex, and it is in our strategic plan, and so this is an opportunity provided by this funding stream to recapture some of the costs of that project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor McKenna, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls support the Municipal Complex Phase 3 as a priority project for funding under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, in brackets ICIP. COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream, and further, the council authorized the CAO to submit a community resilience funding application to the Ministry of Infrastructure before the deadline of December 21st, 2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor McKenna, back to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Alford, that Council of the Town of Smith Falls award tender 20 CS008, preparation of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan for the Town of Smith Falls, to RC Strategies in the amount of $38,548 plus non-redeemable HST at $678.45 for a total of $39,226.45.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McKenna?
Yes, Your Worship, as part of, again, our strategic priorities, the town is embarking on a review or a master plan of all of our parks and recreation. The public will be invited to comment on that, and we're pleased that RC Strategies will be leading that conversation over the coming months, and we expect to have that work wrapped up in the summer, early summer of 2021.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford, for the Council of Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls award tender 20-CS-008, preparation of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan for the Town of Smith Falls, to RC Strategies in the amount of $38,548 plus non-redeemable HST at $678.45 for a total of $39,226.45. All in favor? That's carried. And Councillor Dwyer, you have our final motion.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McGuire that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls award tender 20-CS-009, being the maintenance and supply of plant materials, to Gemmel's Garden Center in the amount of $37,942.64 plus non-redeemable HST of $667.78 for a total of $38,610.42.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer?
Thank you. So every year we go through a tendering process to award the cost and project for vegetating our downtown nodes and planters with seasonal displays. This year, the tender is being awarded to Gemmel's Garden Center, who I believe was the tender recipient last year as well.
Yes. Any further discussion? Moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor McGuire. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls award tender 20-CS-009, maintenance and supply of plant materials, to Gemmel's Garden Center, the amount of $37,942.64 plus non-redeemable HST of $667.78 for a total of $38,610.42. All in favor? That's carried. Inquiries and announcements. Councillor Brennan was first, I think.
No, I was pointing at Councillor McKenna there because I think he has a question.
Well,
Councillor Alford's up first, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And again, this is not, I know that this council and the staff have a great deal to do before the end of the year, so I'm not expecting anything quick, but I want to get it on our radar. And that's a discussion at council around food security. Get an update from those to which we have pledged financial support this past year. It's going to be a long, cold winter, and potentially get information from organizations like both the Food Bank and Community Home Support about their involvement in food security in Smith Falls. It's a large issue across Canada, but it is a large issue for us here in Smith Falls. So it sort of works in concert with the housing crisis that we're having as well. And I would like to get that placed on an agenda early in the new year.
Thank you. Duly noted. I see nodding heads at committee would be willing to, council would like to discuss that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor McKenna, you have a question for us.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. It's two multiple choice questions related, and this relates to, I'm going to ask council the multiple choice. Old Slice Road in Smiths Falls has a lot of traffic on it. A traffic count in 2015 noted that you have to choose between three choices. How many cars or vehicles travel on that a day in 2015? Between 1,000 and 5,000 cars, between 5,000 and 8,000 vehicles, or between 8,000 and 12,000 vehicles a day?
8,000 to 12,000.
B.
B is correct. There's 5,600 cars and vehicles travel that road
I
every
count
day
them, so I know.
in 2015. The second one, and some of you
need a
know
hobby.
this.
Yeah.
So our friends, there's a lot of good relationships between Perth and Smiths Falls. A lot of people commuted every day, both ways. This is in 2020. How many vehicles travel between Perth and Smiths Falls, or Smiths Falls and Perth every day? The choices are between 3,000 vehicles and 5,000, 5,000 to 8,000, or 9,000 to 12,000 every day.
C.
C.
It is C. Over 9,000 vehicles every day travel between our friends in Perth and Smiths Falls. So that's a little trivia that we never get tired of.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor McKenna. Okay, who's got the next trivia and question? Looking for a volunteer.
Oh, I'm way overdue. I'll take it next time.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Okay, no other inquiries or announcements. We'll move on to adjournment, which is with Councilor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Brennan that this council adjourn its proceedings at 8:03 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor McGuire, seconded by Councilor Brennan. This council adjourns proceedings at 8:03 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor?